Chief Justice John Roberts on Monday placed a temporary hold on a lower court ruling that would end a Trump-era immigration policy implemented during the pandemic to allow asylum seekers to be quickly turned away at the border. The brief order came after Republican-led states asked the Supreme Court to keep the policy in place. Roberts ordered that the federal district court ruling, which was due to go into effect on Wednesday, be put on hold until the Supreme Court acts. He asked the Biden administration and groups challenging the policy to file a response to the state's request by Tuesday afternoon. 19 states, led by Arizona and Louisiana, filed an emergency request after the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit last week rejected their request to intervene in the case in a bid to prevent the policy, known as Title 42, from being wound down. Getting rid of Title 42 will recklessly and needlessly endanger more Americans and migrants by exacerbating the catastrophe that is occurring at our southern border, Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich said in a statement. The states say President Joe Biden's administration had abandoned meaningful defense of the rule, saying it effectively engineered, with the help of lawyers challenging the policy, a ruling that would end it. As a result, the states are seeking to intervene in order to keep it in place. The appeals court said in its order last week that the states had waited too long before attempting to intervene. In a separate case, the administration's previous effort to unwind the policy had been blocked by a federal judge. Title 42, named after a section of U.S. law, gives the federal government power to take emergency action to keep diseases out of the country. Former President Donald Trump invoked it when the pandemic broke out, and it has remained in effect during the Biden administration. More than 2 million people have been expelled from the country as a result. Various civil rights groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, challenged the policy on behalf of people covered by it. The Department of Homeland Security said in a statement Monday it would keep Title 42 in effect under the Supreme Court's order, but would continue preparing to manage the border in a safe, orderly, and humane way should it be lifted. We urge Congress to use this time to provide the funds we have requested for border security and management and advance the comprehensive immigration measures President Biden proposed on his first day in office, the department added.
Incoming Republican Congressman George Santos under scrutiny for resume discrepancies. Republican-elect George Santos may have misrepresented parts of his resume, a CNN review of his public statements confirms. The New York Times on Monday, citing public documents and court records, first reported that key parts of Santos' biography were either contradicted or not supported by evidence. A CNN review of claims Santos has made about his education and employment history found the same discrepancies. CNN has reached out to Santos for comment. The Times report says Santos did not respond to repeated requests to furnish documents that would help to substantiate the claims while campaigning. The discrepancies raise ethical and legal questions for Santos as he prepares to officially take on his role as a lawmaker in January as part of the new Republican majority in the House of Representatives. Joseph Murray, an attorney for Santos, told CNN in a statement that the Times was attempting to smear the congressman-elect with defamatory allegations. Santos represents the kind of progress that the left is so threatened by: a gay, Latino, immigrant and Republican who won a Biden district in overwhelming fashion by showing everyday voters that there is a better option than the broken promises and failed policies of the Democratic Party, Murray said. Santos' biography has at times listed an education at Baruch College and New York University, earning degrees in finance and economics. A NYU spokesperson, John Beckman, told CNN, the university's records do not reflect anyone with that name having attended NYU. A spokesperson for Baruch College told CNN it could not find a record of anyone with his name or birthday ever attending the school. On a biography of Santos on the National Republican Congressional Committee website, he claimed he received degrees from New York University and Barkat College. CNN found that Santos specified in at least 2 separate interviews in the fall of 2020 that he received an MBA from NYU, adding in one interview that he had zero debt from his undergraduate and graduate studies. A review of his campaign websites, however, does not show references to a master's degree. Santos' campaign biography also included mention of experience at financial firms Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. But both told CNN they had no record of his employment. CNN also confirmed that Santos listed on his 2022 financial disclosure a salary of $750,000 this year and last at the DeVolder organization, which Santos has claimed is a family firm managing $80 million in assets. A search for the DeVolder organization found that the business was registered in Florida in 2021 and was most recently temporarily deemed inactive by the state after failing to file the required annual reports. A website or LinkedIn profile could not be found, and Santos failed to report any of the clients he served in his financial disclosure. Santos also claimed he founded and ran his own charity called Friends of Pets United. But no such organization was found in the IRS searchable database, nor in the registered charities in New York State and Florida. The nonprofit supposedly ran from 2013 to 2018, according to a story from a local newspaper, the Queen's Gazette, announcing Santos' first run for Congress in 2019. Santos defeated Democrat Robert Zimmerman in a newly drawn district covering parts of Queens and some nearby Long Island suburbs, flipping control to Republicans, who dominated the New York suburbs on their way to winning a House majority. The GOP mini-wave outside the city set off roiling recriminations among New York Democrats, including calls for the state party chair to step down. His campaign message was largely focused on crime and inflation. In a brief interview with CNN, New York State Democratic Party Chair Jay Jacobs pushed back against suggestions the party or Zimmerman campaign had dropped the ball and sought to redirect attention to questions about Santos' financial statements. It's unfair to blame the campaign for opposition research work that it did because the resources of a campaign are not as significant as a paper like the New York Times, that can do a lot more with its investigation, Jacobs said. The important thing is to focus on George Santos. He's got a lot of explaining to do. And I think that his biggest vulnerability is in the area of campaign finance. This story has been updated with additional reporting and reaction.
Trump should face insurrection, obstruction charges, U.S. Capitol riot panel says. The request does not compel federal prosecutors to act, but comes as a special counsel is overseeing 2 other federal probes of Trump related to the Republicans' attempt to overturn his 2020 election defeat and the removal of classified files from the White House. The committee asked the Justice Department to charge Trump with 4 potential felonies. An insurrection is a rebellion against the authority of the United States. It is a grave federal offense, anchored in the Constitution itself. Representative Jamie Raskin, a Democratic Select Committee member, said as he announced the charges. A Justice Department spokesperson declined comment. A Trump spokesperson did not respond to a request for comment. Trump gave a fiery speech to his supporters near the White House the morning of January 6 and publicly chastised his vice president, Mike Pence, for not going along with his scheme to reject ballots cast in favor of Democrat Joe Biden. Trump then waited hours to make a public statement as thousands of his supporters raged through the Capitol, assaulting police and threatening to hang Pence. Representative Benny Thompson, the committee's chairperson, slammed Trump for summoning the mob to the Capitol and criticized him for undermining faith in the democratic system by repeating false claims of fraud. "If the faith is broken, so is our democracy. Donald Trump broke that faith," Thompson said. The committee also said it referred 4 Republican House members, including Kevin McCarthy, the favorite to be the next speaker, to the chamber's Ethics Committee, for failing to comply with subpoenas as it investigated the attack. The other 3 subpoenaed representatives were Scott Perry, Jim Jordan and Andy Biggs. Spokespeople for Jordan, Perry and Biggs dismissed the action as political stunts. McCarthy's office did not respond to a request for comment. Republicans, who take control of the House on January 3rd, are unlikely to act against members of their own leadership. Trump has already launched a campaign to seek the Republican nomination to run for the White House again in 2024. 5 people, including a police officer, died during or shortly after the incident, and more than 140 police were injured. The Capitol suffered millions of dollars in damage. Among the most shameful of this committee's findings was that President Trump sat in the dining room off the Oval Office, watching the violent riot at the Capitol on television, said Representative Liz Cheney, one of 2 Republicans on the committee and its vice chairperson. A summary of the committee's report also said the panel believed there were grounds to recommend criminal charges against some others close to Trump, including attorney John Eastman. An attorney for Eastman responded with a statement criticizing the committee as partisan. Representatives of the others did not immediately respond to requests for comment or declined comment. A jury has already found members of the right-wing Oath Keepers militia guilty of sedition for their role in the attack. Trump has faced a series of legal problems since leaving office on January 20, 2021. His real estate company was convicted on December 6 of carrying out a 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud tax authorities. Trump has dismissed the many investigations as politically motivated. On Monday, he said any prosecution would mean he was improperly being charged twice, after he was impeached last year for a second time but then acquitted in the Senate. The fake charges made by the highly partisan Unselect Committee of January 6 have already been submitted, prosecuted, and tried in the form of impeachment hoax number 2, Trump said on his Truth Social platform. Hours into the riot, Trump released a video statement asking rioters to go home, but also telling them that he loved them. He then sent a tweet saying, "These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away." The Select Committee of 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans approved the recommendation of charges unanimously. The House Ways and Means Committee is due to meet on Tuesday to decide what to do with Trump's tax returns, which it obtained late last month after a long court fight. Trump was the first presidential candidate in decades to not release his tax returns during either of his campaigns for president.